Hello, this is Daryl here, sending love as always. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to say if you like this interview, you can check our website for companion workbooks, action guides, tools, checklists, templates, and show notes with links for everything mentioned on the call. Just visit bestbusinesscoach.ca. That's best, B-E-S-T, businesscoach.ca. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multimillionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and we are truly blessed because we have with us here today Jim Bunch, who is obviously a well-accomplished entrepreneur, but he's also been a phenomenal friend, mentor, and just a good soul. When I first met him, it was at a fundraising party in Del Mar, and right off the bat when I saw him, we were all getting food and going to this room to eat. He just looked like the person I wanted to talk to in the room, and in 5 seconds I just felt so super comfortable with him. And just ever since that meeting, he's just proven to be a truly great person, a great humanitarian, definitely a maker of the peace, and he's just really a stand-up guy. Through just observation, he's a wonderful father, a loving husband, and someone I am very grateful to be able to pick up the phone and call like this. So some of the more technical stuff, or how you other people might know him, is, Jim is known as the ultimate life entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire happiness, health, and wealth worldwide. He's the founder of the Ultimate Game of Life programs. I have personal friends who have actually been through those programs, and it's changed their life as well as 10,000 plus other people's lives. His two passions are technology and transformation. So whether it's launching a new business venture or helping an entrepreneur upgrade their life, there's a common thread you'll find in whatever Jim Bunch does, and that's inspiring and bringing out the best in people. I can attest to this. Most recently, Jim launched a social mobile technology company that transformed the way people interact on the planet and gained 1 million users in 250 plus countries in 79 days. He has over 19 years of professional speaking experience and has given more than 1,000 presentations on business and life transformation. Today he writes, lectures, and serves as the chairman of the board with the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce. Jim, thank you for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm great, Daryl. It's great to connect with you and all your inspiring entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, thank you. You definitely are on the forefront of that. I mean, you've been a mover and shaker for a lot of your career. You've still got plenty of gas in the tank. But something that maybe we could talk a little bit about your background and how you even got started, because some of the people that are listening to this might know you and your background, your history, and some of them won't. So kind of how did you get started? What were you doing long before you came into any sort of marketing or internet marketing or real estate or speaking and coaching? What were you doing like way back in the day?
You make it sound like it was so long ago, and I guess it was. But it's funny. My entrepreneurial bug actually hit kind of by mistake. I was, my stepfather was a small business entrepreneur. He was an electrician. My mom was a dental hygienist. So being around my mom, I thought I wanted to be a dentist, right? So I went pre-med at University of Florida, and something interesting happened. I had to work in order to help pay for college. And I was working at UPS, 4 o'clock in the morning to 9 a.m. And then I'd come back and I'd go to the med labs from 10 o'clock until 2 or 3 or whenever. And then I'd go teach tennis and that. So I kind of had an entrepreneurial bug with the teaching tennis piece. But what really happened is at UPS, one of the guys who was working there, now keep in mind, this is 4 o'clock in the morning. And most people are not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 4 a.m., right?
Right.
Especially doing that kind of physical labor. I mean, you're unloading trucks and you're throwing boxes and all this kind of stuff. And this one guy, Tom, always seemed like he was happy. He always seemed like he was on fire at 4 a.m. and everybody else is just mumbling and grumbling and all this. So come to find out, what he was so excited about was this nutrition product. But what he was really excited about was not just the nutrition product, but the network marketing opportunity behind it. So I'm sure we can all relate to having been exposed to somebody who's passionate about changing the world and becoming financially free. Well, I bought it hook, line, and sinker
Got it.
and got into it. And I did make enough money. I made about 3,000 to 4,000 a month in retail sales, and it was enough for me to leave UPS and kind of look like I was living the dream, right?
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, but what really happened is it got me to realize that what I was interested in school was not becoming a dentist or a doctor. I was interested in helping people, but I wanted to do it through business.
Mm,
And one thing led to another. The MLM never made me 100 grand a month or any of the kind of stories that you hear. I just didn't understand leadership at the time. But it did, through one vein or another, end up introducing me to Tony Robbins.
mm,
And that was kind of the piece that taught me that if I worked on my inner game, if I worked on my belief system, my mindset, those kind of things, that I could actually then change my life. And that was a pivotal point for me. I was in my early 20s, and I actually decided to go work for Tony Robbins for free or for 100% commission. And I traveled the world, Canada, US, and teaching and selling his information because then I knew I would ingrain it.
right.
And so that thing led to the next thing, the next thing, next thing, and I got involved in business and technology and just kind of grew from there.
Got it. So it really came in the early days from just a development that if you work on yourself, your life could change. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people, there's this thing called a belief system, right? Well, before Tony, I had no idea what a belief was. I'm like, what do you mean a belief? What is that? I didn't even know they existed.
Right.
So, he said if you change your beliefs, you can change your life. Well, that was fantastic. I thought, well, I definitely want to change my life. I want to make more money. I want to be in better shape. I want to be happier, all these things. And so, I mentored and studied with him to learn everything I could because this guy was on fire and was changing a lot of people's lives.
Right, right, and that's so true. That's a really, really big and important critical piece because I know, just we've talked about that too. The story that you tell yourself or play out in your mind, and that often, at least for me, I see, or at least in my looking back in my career, that often that was some of the biggest challenges for myself was overcoming my own beliefs, my own systems, my own bullshit and concrete that's been pounded into my head. Is that kind of like what you'd say was one of your greatest challenges too, or what's kind of been kind of your greatest milestones or aha moments along the paths?
Well, I think that's two questions. I think anytime that that you really understand your inner game, you understand your belief systems or what we call your memetics or any of that, then you can start to realize that the financial results you're producing are a byproduct of the beliefs you have. The physical body that you have and the food that you eat and the way you exercise is all a result of your beliefs because your beliefs drive your behavior. So I don't want to sound like Tony Robbins here because what I started learning later on is the beliefs are very powerful. That's about 40% of the equation. But what's also really important is the outer game and the environments that you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
And most people don't realize the impact of the 9 environments, we call it, which was taught to me by another mentor. But if you don't do your environments properly, if you're not doing life by design, you're doing life by default. And most people just kind of accept whoever comes into their life. They accept whatever job comes into their life. They accept whatever friends come into their life. They accept whatever associations or groups or clubs that come into their life. And next thing you know, they get 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And what they realize is their success has become a byproduct of the people that they invest the most time with.
Right.
And if you do that by default, sometimes that can work out. Like I was lucky when I was younger. I met Tony Robbins. That put me down one path. Then I met Bob Proctor and John Ashraf. And the next thing you know, I met all these different business owners. And I met, from one thing led to the next and next and next. I was fortunate.
Right.
But some people never get out of their home environment. They never get beyond the group of friends that they talk to every day. They don't expand like you've been doing their network and connecting with other people who are shining lights in the world.
Yeah, that's so important. Jim Rohn has a quote saying that you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with, and I think that's really true. I mean, I can definitely highlight times that exactly as you say, your environments. I had another buddy, Chris. I forget his last name, but he used to say it was skill set, mindset, and environment, and it was those three pieces that were so important. You could have the best skill set in the world, but if your mindset sucked, then you weren't going to get anywhere. And even if you had the best skill set and mindset, if you were in the wrong environment, which sounds like there's nine different environments, then that's going to be limiting you as well. Um, what are these nine different environments? You really piqued my interest with that.
Well, I think that's a longer conversation, but there's all kinds of free resources and stuff I'll give to you and the rest of the audience. It's something that one of my mentors, Thomas Leonard, who's now passed away, shared with me. And I asked him one time, I said, why is it so many people want to change their results in life? They want to change their finances. They want to pay off debt. They want to build a successful business. They want to build passive income. They want to take a company public. They want to do all these things, but they struggle over and over and over again. And he said it's because they're trying to use willpower instead of the environments.
That's awesome.
And so I'll happily give you and the rest of the audience here a link. It's stuff that we share around the world to anybody who wants to change your life. It's one of the most powerful things that I've ever run across, and there's all kinds of modules and stuff on it. So
That's awesome. Now, I don't know if this is a sidetrack or not, but a bit of a philosophical question. Is there like a top to this crazy mountain we're on as entrepreneurs? Is there, do we ever arrive anywhere, or is this kind of a bit of a treadmill? I remember hearing Michael Gerber speak once, and he was kind of saying, there's no top to this mountain. Like, we're all just climbing endlessly. And I just you've just come, again, you've still got plenty of gas in the tank, but you've already done so much and accomplished so much. Accomplish what's for some other people would be like a life goal, and for you it's just one stop along the road of your story that's unfolding. And so just for you, kind of in your perspective, having done these things that other people aspire to do, looking back, like, I don't know, has it changed it for you? Is it like, how does that evolve? Like, taking a company public, or, trying to hit $1 million in net worth, or trying to change over 1,000 people's lives. Like, when you've got those things as goals and you start checking them off, do you become complacent? How do you keep the drive to succeed beyond that level?
Well, it's funny. It's an interesting question, and I think it all depends on where you're at in your life and phases. And I never realized this until I got a little older, got a family, son, this kind of thing. But there are certain cycles that all entrepreneurs go through. There are certain challenges that all entrepreneurs go through. And the beautiful thing about it is if you can surround yourself with people who are a little further down the road, they can help make those challenges a little easier to overcome. But as far as what drives or motivates people, there's really three things that I have noticed. Number one, at the very base, people have needs. We have these core needs that Maslow talked about, the need for sex, the need for food, the need for shelter. So we got our 6 basic human needs. And here in the United States, most people have most of those met. Not always. There are people that are living in tent cities and things like that right now that, unfortunately, because of the economy, they were out of position. But when you get your basic needs met, then you start looking at what's called your personal needs. And in coaching, for example, there's over 200 personal needs. And that might be a need to be heard, or a need to connect, or a need to be touched, or a need to be understood, or any of these kind of things. And what happens is, I use it like this metaphor of a car with 4 wheels. If you're driving down the road and one of those wheels falls off the car, that car's not going anywhere.
Right.
So if you have a need to be heard, well, maybe you need to start a podcast, or maybe you need to be on stage, or maybe you need to join a movement, right? If you have a need to be connected, well, it might make sense for you to build a large network of inspiring people that are truly there to support you instead of just, make fun of you or whatever. So we start to look at the next, besides the basic needs, are the personal needs. And what I find is when you get those needs met, there's a sense of relief. There's a sense of a sense of relief. Like, the pressure's off. That's when you've got the first stage, your needs are taken care of. The next stage is your wants. Like, what do I really want in life? And this is where a lot of people are talking about success. Like, I want a new car. I want to take a trip. I want to take a journey. I want a new wardrobe. I want $1 million. I want.
Right.
So that's perfectly fine. And a lot of people will tell themselves, well, I don't want anything. And they come from a place of scarcity or lack. What you're really wanting is you want an experience, right? So what happens is when you get your needs taken care of, it's a sense of relief. When you get your wants fulfilled, then there's a sense of gratification. There's that temporary ring in the bell where you go, wow, that felt really good, but it's a depreciating turn. So taking a company public, it's exciting, it's fun, and boom, you can check that off the list. Or purchasing 100 homes in real estate, or one home, right? Those are wants. And what I find is that's stuff that drives most people, is either their needs or wants. But if you're going to play a really high level of game, you get your needs taken care of, you get your wants fulfilled, so you're not wanting all the time, and then you start working on your values. And when you work on your values, we've developed a process with entrepreneurs where there's 5 core values that are really what we call your subconscious drivers. These are the things that you, every single day, whether you realize it or not, are subconsciously driving your behavior. They're how you're making decisions about who you're going to work with, what companies you're going to start, what kinds of relationships you're going to do, what trips you take. Most people have no clue what they are, but it's like this unwritten or unknown software in your subconscious mind that drives your behaviors. And here's what happens. When you start to identify your values are the things that you want to express more of in the world. And when you start getting in alignment with that, that's a fuel that never runs out. It doesn't matter if you hit another want or checked off another goal or whatever it is. What happens now is you wake up inspired. Inspired means the spirit within, the energy inside of you is what we're impressing out into the world. And so now you start to align your vision, your values, your mission, your purpose in life with your companies, with your family, and life becomes fulfilling instead of just successful.
Got it.
So those are the 3. And by the way, if you go after a values-driven life, but you haven't taken care of your wants and needs, you'll have a temporary sense of fulfillment, but you won't have long-term success fulfillment. And here's the big piece. When you understand your values, your wants, and your needs, the biggest, most important thing is not what you say yes to. It's what you can say no to.
Yeah. No, that's so. Just for me, it's funny because just yesterday I was talking with a friend. Just, hey, how you been? Long time no talk. And I just say, I've actually been working on saying no to more things, and anyways, it's funny that you mentioned that. So it's a hard thing to do. I think Darren Hardy did an interview with Warren Buffett, and one of the questions he asked Warren was, what is one of the, one of your habits or skills that's led to your phenomenal success? And Warren said it was the ability to say no. And I think that's really, really key. Wow, that's awesome, Jim. So for you, I mean, having already been armed with all this stuff, I mean, obviously it's a process, and you didn't start the journey with all this knowledge and experience. So for you, what was one of kind of the hardest things that you went through in entrepreneurship, and how did you think and feel going into it? And in hindsight, once you overcame it, what was the revelation, I guess? And that's kind of what I want to hear from you, because for me, like, you feel what I want, Jim, is I want to hear about, that moment, or one of those moments where I don't know, you had this overwhelming sense of doubt or just fear of whether you're going to make it through this event or this moment. Because as an entrepreneurs, we all have ups and downs, and maybe any of our listeners that are struggling right now, they can kind of find peace or connection with how you approach the problem, or how you felt pre-problem and post-problem can be some sort of blueprint for them.
Well, I think the biggest piece everybody who's an entrepreneur needs to understand is, by nature, you've chosen a somewhat difficult path. So there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
You're willing to step outside of the norm and to lead. Right. And that in itself comes with a certain set of lessons. The lessons are easy, they're documented, they're easy to overcome. But if you don't see them coming, then sometimes they can catch you. So I'll give you a couple of stories and a couple of examples that were those toughest parts in my life, and were some of my greatest learning experiences. So, and here's what I would pre-frame this with, is recognize that the person that I am today, or the person that you are, Daryl, or the person who's listening, is not the same person you were 6 months ago.
Right.
Almost every cell in your body replaces itself every 12 months. That means that even at the biological level, Every cell in your body is a new cell. Your brain cells, your liver, every piece of you is new. What most people do, though, is they drag their thinking from the past into the future. So the reason that the universe, in my opinion, the reason the universe gives us these challenges is to help take our level of understanding and our awareness to another level. I don't believe there's any accidents. I think the universe does everything by perfection, and the universe is never going to give you anything you can't handle, and the universe is never going to give you anything before you can handle it. In other words, the universe does not waste. Nothing in the universe wastes. So you're only going to get the lesson that you need the second you need it, not 1 second sooner, not 1 second later. You're only going to get that resource that you've been wanting. You're going to get it at exactly the time you need it, not 1 second sooner.
Right.
So what most people have to recognize is a lot of this is done predetermined. It's by design. Can you influence it? Yes. Can you change it? Absolutely. But your job, your part of the game, if you will, is to prepare yourself to play the game at the highest level. Now, that being said, it doesn't always go the way that you think. So after having traveled with Tony Robbins and having worked with Bob Proctor and John Assaraf and built some companies there, something really interesting happened. I saw thousands of people going through these seminars every weekend, and I thought that this was what I was supposed to do with my life. I thought that I was supposed to be on stages, that I was supposed to be the next Tony Robbins. People were telling me this, da-da-da-da-da. And then something interesting happened. I lost faith in the industry. I started seeing thousands of people getting excited, getting pumped up, getting motivated, but as I got to know them, I didn't see them actually making changes.
Right.
And I started to question, I started to doubt, I started to make the industry wrong. And I went through what I would call a spiral. Now, here's the funny thing about the spiral. I ended up moving from Kansas City, which I was born in Florida, but I spent a year in Canada, a year in Kansas City. I moved to California. I didn't know anybody. I couch surfed for a couple of weeks until a friend of a friend said, hey, I'm moving to San Diego. There's no room in the main part of the house, but there's a bomb shelter underneath the bottom of the house. I went, what? Now, here I am at the time. I'm used to wearing suits and giving presentations to people about success, but I had accumulated debt.
Yep.
I went from being super confident and on stages to living in a bomb shelter because I didn't have any money left. But the reason, and the worst part, the hardest part is not that I was just financially broke. I was spiritually broke. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I started doubting and questioning whether I could be on stage, whether I could tell people all this stuff was success, because I wasn't achieving success.
Right.
So I spent the next year of my life in a very dark place, literally and spiritually. And it all, it all came, it literally was a bomb shelter. To paint the picture, you'd walk down this set of stairs into a concrete room. There were no natural light in the room at all. There was only a tube that went from the outside down into this bomb shelter. It was literally in the 50s, they built all these bomb shelters down here in Point Loma, California. And there was only 2 bedrooms in the house. Gary had one, Greg had the other, and I was living in the bomb shelter. I had no income, had no idea where I was going. And the relationship, I was dating this girl. I'm driving a 300ZX convertible, this really nice sports car that I couldn't afford, but I was locked into it.
Right.
I'm dating this beautiful girl who we had nothing but drama in our relationship. And I'm looking at my life going, what the heck am I doing with my life? The only thing that was consistent was my health. I worked out every day because I didn't have anything else to do and I didn't know what to do. But Daryl, I questioned everything. I questioned my life. I questioned my purpose. I questioned my faith. I questioned whether I even wanted to be alive. And when you get to that place in life, my hopes for anybody who's there, by the way, is that Daryl's message or somebody's message can inspire you to know that if you're still here, if you're still fogging a mirror, there's a purpose for you. Because the moment you figure out that purpose, things change. And so in the worst night, one of the worst nights of my life, the girl that I'm dating's ex-boyfriend breaks into the house, comes into the bomb shelter, drags her out of bed with his buddy. We don't know if they had guns or what, but they had my other friends pressed up against the walls. They drag her out of the house and take her.
Holy smokes.
Right? So in the midst of this drama and this chaos, we end up calling the police. He gets arrested, and she's obviously returned, but it was a nightmare. Didn't sleep for days. And in the middle of that, I reached over and I grabbed a book called Conversations with God. And this isn't a religious or spiritual conversation. This is more like, well, maybe spiritual, but this is like, if you ever had that perfect person or that perfect message come in at the right time, for me, that's what that book was. And I realized, I read that whole book cover to cover in one night because I couldn't sleep because of all this stress.
Right, yeah. And feeling of insecurity that you lost
Yeah,
your...
like what the hell's going on?
Right.
And at that night, I remember I said, you know what? That's it. I'm going to dedicate my life to helping other people change their lives. That's what I thought I was here to do. That's what I'm here to do. How that looks may change. It may be through building businesses. It may be through an inspiring talk. It may be just sitting down with somebody that we've adopted or donated to, or who knows what it's going to be. But I'm going to invest all of my life and my energy into that purpose. And I quickly went from having no money in debt and being in a bomb shelter to a beach house, driving a $100,000 Porsche, wearing Rolexes, I made six figures in 90 days, and this was 17 years ago.
Wow.
And it wasn't that I was focused on the money. I shifted my focus to helping people, because that's where money comes from. Money comes from creating value for other people's lives. So if you're not making enough money, it means you simply aren't creating enough value. It doesn't matter if you've created the iPod, or if you've created a coaching call, or if you've created a website system, or whatever it is. If you're creating value for people, their exchange back is what we call stored energy or money. That's all money is stored energy. So if I provide value to somebody over here, then they're going to pay me money, and that is a unit of energy which I can then reinvest or reallocate.
Right. Okay.
So that story about the bomb shelter is one of the times in my life where it was really difficult, and I realized that most entrepreneurs don't go financially bankrupt first; they go spiritually bankrupt, and then the finances follow.
Yeah, got it. It's a symptom. It's not the problem itself. That's actually really, really, really insightful. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. I think a lot of listeners or any entrepreneur can appreciate that, especially like you say, you are stepping out of the norm, and sometimes it's tough and it's hard, and you don't always have someone to guide you. So sometimes you're like, am I even on the right road? And so it can be overwhelming. And I think you're right. I think that's exactly it. That whether the state of someone's finances or even the state of their business is often a reflection of them. And so it's more of a personal. Would you then say that entrepreneurship then is also almost more of a path of personal development than even necessarily like financial development? That you have to fix yourself and your values and your beliefs and maybe your habits and routines in order to accomplish the things that you set out as goals? Is that...
There's no doubt about it. I mean, the success you have in your business or in your life is going to be in direct proportion to your willingness and your ability to transform your thinking, to live your life the way that you want to live it. And so your business is a byproduct. Your lifestyle is a byproduct of who you are and how you choose to live.
Right. That is so powerful. I already feel like we're not even done this interview. I already feel like I'm going to listen to this at least another 2 times to take some notes, because I think you're right. I think you're dropping some beautiful gems here, things that I can see for myself in my career and things that I just have seen with other people around me that are involved in the same sort of thing. So, Jim, what have been some of is there any books that you would recommend? Any kind of quotes? Well, let's start with books. What kind of reading would you recommend? Or for someone who's starting out or struggling? I mean, everyone's situation is different, but at least for you, were there any key books that helped you along your way?
Well, I think everybody is different, Daryl, but I mean, for me, I enjoy anything that has to do with business or money, and I enjoy anything that has to do with spirituality. So for me, I've read everything from, like I said, Conversations with God and Way of the Peaceful Warrior to Celestine Prophecy. Those were some of my favorite, spiritual books, to, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I think it's one of the best books that's out right now. That talks about, why we do what we do in life and business. And some of the courses we've created have so much parallel with what he talks about in that book, because when you can change what they call your keystone habit then you can change a bunch of other things. So you pick one area of your life to focus on. It could be the habit of starting to go to the gym or starting to get out and surf or whatever it is, and you decide that that is going to be the one habit that's going to make the biggest impact in your life. And then you do what's called habit stacking. On top of that, you stack your next habit, your next habit, your next habit. So, for example, if you already brush your teeth, right, which
Right.
most people do,
Right. Right.
and the concept of habit stacking is, well, geez, I've got a goal to change my mindset. All right, well, cool. Then what I'm going to do is, since I'm already in the habit of brushing my teeth, I'm going to pull up my iPhone or Droid and I'm going to watch an inspiring video while I brush my teeth every day. So
Right.
what you're doing is you're stacking on top of a habit you already have, another habit you want to ingrain. And then after watching that inspiring video, maybe the next habit you want to do is, I'm going to start my workouts now. So I'm inspired, I'm motivated, and now I'm just going to start with one push-up. Today and this week, I'm only going to do one push-up. Now, why don't I do 10 or 50 or 100? Because we're developing habits. And if you want long-term sustainable success, your life will become a series of habits and environments. So I'd rather have people do one push-up and do it successfully for 5 days than to try to do 50 and do it unsuccessfully. The other piece is the best day to start is today, right now. And it reminds me of, Jack Canfield, right? Chicken
Right.
Soup for the
Right.
Soul.
Right. Of course. Yes.
Jack and I are really good friends. He and I spent years teaching our really high-end masterminds, like our $25,000 masterminds together. And where we started our relationship was he came into a program we run called the 90-Day Challenge. And this is all about changing habits. I was talking with Jack on the phone, and Jack is just an amazing man. He's built the second largest book series in the world behind J.R.
Wow.
Tolkien's books.
Wow.
The Hobbits, but he and Mark Victor Hansen have sold more books than anybody other than J.R. Tolkien.
Wow.
So what's interesting is, and he's a huge fan of personal development, right? He not only studies it, but he applies it. So he decides he's going to come into our 90-day challenge as a player. And I got him on a call, and I said, all right, Jack, what's one of your goals? And he goes, well, I want to get in better shape. He goes, I travel, I speak, and we have these exotic dinners and wines and things like that. And he goes, I've gained like 30 pounds that I don't want anymore. And he goes, so I'm going to start working out. And I go, well, are you at your home in Santa Barbara right now? He goes, no, I'm on the road. He goes, so as soon as I get home, I'm going to join the gym. And I said, when are you going to be home? He goes, well, I'll be home next week. And I said, okay, cool. Are you ready to start changing your life today? He goes, absolutely. He goes, I'm going to join the gym as soon as I get home. And I go, okay, cool. I'm not willing to wait for that. As your coach, I'd like you to put the phone down right now and drop and give me 5 push-ups. And he goes, no, I promise I'll do it when I get home. And I go, I know you will, but I want you to start your change right
now.
Right now. So he made a joke. He goes, no, I promise I'll go, Jack. No, you're doing it now. And he goes, you're not going to let me off, are you? And I said, absolutely not. Because if you do it now, you have a win. You are already successful. You're already in momentum. If you wait till next week, you have to remember to succeed. And so he put it down. He went through our 90-day challenge, and he completely, and that's where he first learned about the 9 environments. He completely changed so many things about his life because he made that one decision to do those 5 push-ups and start it now. So if you're listening to this right now, everybody on here should drop and do one sit-up, do one push-up, do something to feel like you have a win.
I'm actually doing this. Here we go. I'm
All
going
right, drop
to
down.
one push-up.
Start it right now. One push-up.
That's awesome.
Mine too. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay, that was awesome. That is so brilliant. I can't believe like the stacking because I know that some things, and it's when you mentioned stacking, I thought of brushing my teeth right away. Because when you're talking, I'm like, I do that now. I don't do that successfully everywhere. But that is so powerful. Habits. We really are just habits that repeat every day. I mean, that's been said. I'm blessed to know a lot of very successful people in business and athletics. And especially in the martial arts arena, I have a lot of friends that have competed at the world championship level. And we always say that, you're a world champion before you get on the mat. It's not that you show up and you are ordained world champion. When you show up at that tournament, you already are based on how you use your 24-day cycle. Everyone that shows up at that tournament only gets 24 hours every day, and it's about how best or whoever best utilizes those 24 hours, they're the ones that are going to win. They've got the most optimized diet for that sport, the most optimized like root habits, routines, friends, the best coaches. They've got everything, the best mindset about it, the best strategies, and it's all about being super, super optimized with your 24-hour period. So um, that's a really powerful session. I wish I'd taken more notes. Jim, what are some? Well, we have the recording, so I'm not even just saying that. I really am going to listen to this like 2 or 3 more times. Jim, are there any key habits that you felt were quintessential to your success?
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it as a healthy body, healthy mind, healthy finances, or what we call happy, healthy, and wealthy. Daryl, we've surveyed thousands of people from countries all over the world. And when I say surveyed, I went out, this was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I sent out emails to our database, and I forget how many thousands of people replied, but I asked them one simple question: what are your goals? And they filled it into this survey that we had, and put it into a spreadsheet, and then I went through and organized all these. And you know what I found? Across the world, everyone's goals, all of them, fit into 3 categories. They wanted to be happier, they wanted to be healthier, and they wanted to be wealthier. And I asked the audience again, I said, if you were happier, healthier, and wealthier, would you feel successful? Because that's what most of these guys wanted, was to be more successful. And across the board, we heard yes. There wasn't one goal that wasn't a subset of happy, like, I want to, meet my soulmate. I want to travel the world. I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to pay off my debt. I want to invest in real estate. I want to have a successful company. They all fit under those goals. So the first thing is to simplify your success. It's that simple. If you can be happier, healthier, and wealthier, and you can develop 3 habits around that, you win. It's that simple. Most people are trying to do 10, 20, 30 things a day. Don't do that. Every day when you get up, choose 3 goals for 90 days and choose 3 habits. That's it. Simplify your success. Build a foundation in that. The second thing is to understand that it takes time. Yesterday, you and I have talked about surfing, and I don't know, have you been out on the surf this week here in San Diego?
No, not this week. I haven't been out in almost a month.
What?
I know.
All right, dude, I'm calling you forward on that. So here's the thing. I went out yesterday, and the surf is huge again. As a matter of fact, I think it's tapered off a little bit, but it was big yesterday. We went to Seaside, and I want to tell this story because there's a metaphor, especially for entrepreneurs, in this. A lot of people would look at somebody who's out there surfing these big waves, and they go, wow, that looks really easy. But until you've surfed, even on small waves, you don't understand the amount of training and preparation, both physically and psychologically, that are required to surf at any level.
Right.
And I see entrepreneurs oftentimes who they look at the Bill Gates or the Warren Buffetts or the Tony Robbins or the Richard Bransons or the whoever's, and they go, I want to be like that. And I encourage you to do that. But what I also want you to do is I want you to look at the path that they took to prepare and train and condition. You're talking about your martial arts. It's the same thing. Right. There's an inner game and an outer game. So I paddled out yesterday, and I didn't have the right equipment. I had a long board instead of a short board. And I went out into surf that was probably, some of the peak waves were 15 plus feet high. Now, to put that into perspective, that's 15 feet from the backside of the wave, which means that the front side of the wave is typically about 20 feet. What it also means is that the force and the power of that mass amounts of water coming down is enough to snap boards, break backs, and kill people.
Wow.
So I paddled out with a buddy of mine, Mike. And on the first, couple of waves as you're paddling out, there's a wall of water. Now, to put it in perspective, a 15-foot wave is going to leave somewhere around 10 feet. 15 to 20 foot wave will leave about 8 to 10 feet of white water that's just rushing at you.
Right.
So when you're paddling out, as if you're on a short board, you dive under. You do what's called duck dive.
Right.
And if you're on a long board, you flip the board over, and they call it a turtle dive. And the hopes are that you can pull that board down and the white water goes over you so that you can flip the board back up, get on top of it, and paddle until the next wave comes to get out beyond the breaking wave so you can rest and get prepared. So
Right.
I got hit by a couple of strong ones. Fortunately, I did a great turtle dive. I got up, paddled, got up, but I was pretty winded by the time I got out there.
Right.
Now, sitting on there, I decided to grab a wave. And as you know, you either take the wave or you get taken by the wave when there's that much force. So I got caught in a funky position and I got rolled. I got drug underneath this 20-foot wave that when you get drug underneath, what happens is the wave is so strong that it's just going to drag you wherever it goes. It's taking you and the board probably another 30 to 40 feet underwater spinning.
Right.
And you don't know what's up or down. There's white water, you can't see anything, and you're just rolling.
Right.
Now, if you're not trained and you're not prepared, if you haven't done this before, the natural response is fear and panic. But one of the things that entrepreneurs need to understand is that fear is a necessity. Panic is deadly. A healthy dose of fear keeps you on your game.
Right.
It keeps you prepared. It helps you understand that there are obstacles coming up that need to be dealt with.
Right.
But if you panic, then you're not just taking a risk, you're at risk.
Right.
You can immediately get into a situation where you can die.
Yep.
Now, I'm bringing this up, and I got rolled 3 times. I'm underwater. I was out of air. It knocked the wind out of me. I took on water in my lungs. If it hadn't been just luck that I rose to the surface as my board popped up, I probably wouldn't be having this interview today. And I realized that day the ocean won. I lost. I'm heading out. So I paddled in, and even the paddling in with 10-foot, whitewater was.
Yeah.
Me and a buddy of mine hit each other. We ripped up boards. This whole thing. It was a crazy scene.
Wow.
But I'm pointing this out because if you're an entrepreneur and you're standing on the shore, 100 yards out, it may not look that big. It may not look that tough. It may not look like you need to do that much. But when you're getting into business, you need to set your goals to be doing big wave surfing, for example. But you need to practice. You need to rehearse. You need to have the right coaches and mentors there that'll tell you if you're ready to step to that next level. In business, for you, getting in, to the water may mean that you're starting a part-time business while you're working another job. It may mean your next level is to go from part-time to full-time. It may mean that you're getting from 6 figures to 7 figures. It may mean you're going from being just you to hiring a staff. It may mean that you now need to build a wealth team, an advisory team. It may mean that you need to bring in capital or resources. You may need to expand your tech. All of these are waves that come at you. And as an entrepreneur, if you've got the right coaches and mentors and advisors there, they can help you understand the difference between taking a risk and being at risk. You should always take risks as an entrepreneur, but you should never put yourself at risk, because at risk can take you out of the game.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's such a good analogy. And even that was a really good story, because you're right. There's so many ways to look at that. It's when you were talking about getting tossed by the wave and being rolling, that almost sounds like trying to take on a business project, or because not everything's going to be a home run. And if you've been through that before, if you have the training, the experience, even though it's chaotic and even though you've sucked in water, you're going to be okay as long as you stick to these core fundamentals, right? I've been here before. I made it out okay. I just need to get to the surface and get to my board, and just keeping that clarity of thought and focus. And I think you're right. I think that was a really good analogy. How long have you been surfing? Is surfing a way that is that something that's, I know a lot of people for them, surfing is very zen and they use it as analogies for other things. Is that it for you, or is that just like a hobby that you took on while you were here in California? Do you learn a lot of lessons through surfing? Do you feel that transfer into normal life?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody has their discipline, if you will. I've played competitive tennis and beach volleyball, and I took up surfing about 6 summers ago. I think this is my 5th or 6th summer. And I'm not a world-class surfer by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the guys I surf with, they do big wave toe-in surfing, which is pretty incredible. But, for me, what happened is that I lived on the beach here in San Diego for a while, and I'd look down at the surf, and it was pretty and this and that, but I'm like, oh, the water's cold, or oh, I just don't feel like surfing, or oh, I'd rather go work out or play volleyball or whatever. I made all those conversations real for many years, and then finally I said, you know what? This is a lifestyle. This is something that I want to go out to, and I made a decision. You see, decision at the Latin root, there's 3 words people should, especially entrepreneurs, should understand. There's precision, incision, and decision. Precision means to cut before. So precision, cut before something. Incision means to cut into something. And decision means to cut away from something. So what I had to do is make a decision that I was going to quit doing some other things so I had the time to invest in surfing. And when I first went out and went surfing, there were so many amazing life metaphors that came up for everything. Because, I'll just give one. I won't give all of them. But one was that, here I am, I'm paddling out for the first time. It is awkward. It's uncomfortable. You don't know how to balance on the board. And you've got these waves hitting you in the face and knocking you off the board while you're trying to paddle out. Yep. So that's one piece. You've got the elements right there of balance and force coming against you. But the other side is, and most people don't recognize this, you're laying on your chest, which means that all of your weight is on your oxygen. And so you're paddling. Most of the time you aren't in conditioned for it. You're not trained yet. Right. So now you're going anaerobic while you're trying to drill out. These waves are hitting you, knocking off the board. They're coming one after the other, and you're trying to get back on a board, scramble, paddle to get beyond these waves, and you immediately get exhausted.
Yep. And there's people watching you.
Yeah, well, you think they are. Most of the time people don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
Because they're doing their own thing, but that's what you think, right?
Right.
So I remember that first day that I went out and I went, wow, what a great metaphor for starting up a new business. What a great metaphor for the person who's wanting to lose 50 pounds and has been overweight their whole life. What a great metaphor for the person who has left a relationship that's just been crap, whether it was in business or in family or personal relationship, and they are afraid to get back in the water because it's uncomfortable, because they're tired, because they're off balance. You know what? You're never going to enjoy the flip side of surfing, which is being at one with nature, being able to disconnect from all technology, being out there with your friends and enjoying a sunset, seeing dolphins ride in the waves with you, standing up on your first wave and knowing that at that moment in time, there's no other person in the world that is having that wave and that experience, that the universe created that one experience just for you, the same way it will in life and in business. And so, yeah, there's some great metaphors, and they go on and on about life and business, but you can get that in your martial arts. You can get it wherever you want. I just happen to love surfing because it's such a connection with everything that's living. And I find that in my world, I'm around computer screens and cell phones and technology, so much that I need to disconnect from that and re-engage in what's real, which is the world.
Right. That is so important. I know that balance is something that we all struggle with as entrepreneurs, and so I think you hit the nail on the head. And if you can find a hobby or a part-time sport that you find that you pull more out of it than just pleasure. I mean, pleasure on its own and just like you said, just disconnecting is great. But if you feel that it's also a useful tool to other elements of your life, I think that's a real win there. And I was listening to a recording by Gene Schwartz. And for anyone who doesn't know who Gene Schwartz was, he was just a copywriter, marketer extraordinaire, started some legendary businesses. And he was saying that he felt all entrepreneurs should always have 3 projects going on, because one project is enough to keep us busy, and 4 or 5 or more can be too much to really keep a handle on. But 3 projects would be really good, and they don't all need to be business projects or work related projects, but just something that keep us active. And especially if there's transferable lessons or skills between them, it's really, really, really auspicious. And so that's what I was hearing when you're talking about surfing and what it does for you. So that's really awesome. Yeah, I got to get back out in the water. I got nothing but excuse. I have a new car that doesn't have a rack on the roof, and that's my champagne problem. So no more excuses. So
that's funny. I was looking at Teslas the other day. I've got that BMW M out here, and I got a surf rack, and I finally found out that Teslas actually have surf racks on them. So I'll probably be switching. So.
Man, I want a Tesla so bad. I don't think this year. I'm hoping next year. We'll see. It depends how this fall goes. But you're looking at getting a Tesla?
Yeah, but hey, let me back up, because I'm not talking about cars here. But you said something, and I want to share a viewpoint. You said that balance. You were talking about balance, and I want to toss something out. This was an insight I had, and I think entrepreneurs may hear this at a core level. Most people are trying to seek balance in life, and what I teach people is balance is an illusion. Instead of trying to be balanced, focus on being centered in an unbalanced world. The reality is, like your martial arts, if you've got your center, no matter what's coming at you, you can deal.
Mhm.
And as an entrepreneur, especially in early stages or any stages of entrepreneur, you're going to feel like you've got life coming at you and business coming at you and problems and opportunities and all kinds of stuff coming up. And don't seek balance, because what happens is in the short term, you always look like you're out of balance. If you back out to 50,000 feet or you back out 10 years, you realize, yeah, I was in balance. But don't focus on trying to be balanced. Focused on being centered in a very unbalanced world. Now, with that, what I do focus on is, again, I focus on three things every day. One for my happiness, one for my health, and one for my wealth. Because no matter what, everything else I do for the day is a win if I get those three things in. The rest is all bonus. And it doesn't have to be difficult. But I just want to challenge people's beliefs around this goal of seeking balance, because what I find is most successful people, most fulfilled people go through these ups and downs of where they invest their energy and their time. And, if you just look at a tiny window, they oftentimes look very unbalanced. But if you scale out, then you realize, oh, okay, so yeah, they worked hard for 3 years and then they sold their company and then they took a year or two off. Or, in my case, I try to train like Olympic athletes where, I work really hard for 3 weeks and then I take the fourth and sometimes fifth week of the month off. So I have my rhythms down where I go, all right, I'm gonna work the first 3 weeks of the month, and I take the fourth and fifth week off. That's where I relax, I recharge, I rejuvenate, I refocus, I travel, I do the things that are gonna bring me back into the game and have me be sharp for the 3 weeks that I'm on the field.
Yeah, I think that's really important thank you for pulling me back and identifying that. Kevin, what the heck is his last name? It's not Kevin Harrington, the other Kevin. He's on Shark Tank and he's also in Dragon's Den. Anyways, he's a VC venture capitalist, and he was saying that kind of his philosophy is different. He comes a bit more like the hard sale kind of backer, but his thing was that there's no such thing as balance, that you can't grow a company with balance, that exactly like you say, like it takes intense long periods of effort to really produce any sort of result anywhere. So what you're just saying is, I think if I were to take it to a martial arts analogy, is just control yourself, make sure that you're okay, and make sure that you have planned downtime and rest time. You're not just go all the time, but that if you're a workaholic, that's not necessarily a bad thing, quote unquote, because you don't have balance, as long as you're centered and as long as you're happy and you're content with what you're doing, and you make sure that your relationships are still intact and your health is still intact, that happy, healthy wealth. As long as you are maintaining balance of those three things, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, there's no utopian formula of 1 hour spent on each day on this, on that, on whatever. It's just making sure that you're moving those three kind of balls forward every day, every week. Is that correct, or did I change it?
Nope, you're right on.
Okay, perfect. Jim, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this today. What are you working on now? What kind of stuff are you really passionate about, and what's new in your world? I know you've been traveling for the summer. I've been traveling too, but what's kind of fresh on your plate these days?
Well, I'm in a stage right now where there's two things that really excite me. Number one is we're completely doing a rebrand and a reposition for the Ultimate Game of Life to
Really?
where we can go back out to the masses.
Hmm.
We know we're a little heavy on the personal development side, and I want to move us back towards the edutainment, where we're entertaining and educating. So we're aligning with things like, the Tough Mudders, where we'll go out and do these mud runs, and then we'll take the next day and we'll do a mastermind, and then we're aligning with great companies like GoPro, who are really about filming the exciting things in your life and world, and I want to align with Tesla and BMW and some of these, and really just inspire people to play a bigger game in life. That's our whole focus there. So I'm actually working on the side with our development team, and they're redesigning it, and the whole I love the new look and feel and all that. So that's going to roll out pretty soon. And that'll lead us to just building a massive audience. Right now we have people in 45 countries, but I want to get to 200 countries. And then, we'll work on the next phase of the business after that.
That's awesome.
And the other thing that's exciting me is there's a couple of projects I'm working on with some of my business friends where I'm helping them restructure and redesign their companies for growth. I I've kind of taken a hiatus from business the last few years, and now I'm starting to, my business brain is kicking back in, and I'm excited about the potential to help, lots of people around the world transform their lives. So I got a couple of secret projects that I'm working on there that hopefully they'll scale and grow like the last couple we've done.
That's awesome. And that's such a noble cause too, because that really is so many people, they just don't even like, even when I talk to people sometimes, I I know I'm an entrepreneur and that we're a different breed, but sometimes I find it very frustrating with people that like, what do you mean you don't have any goals? What do you mean you don't like how do you just wake up and just go to work and come home every day? I don't quite get that or understand that. So I think that's a really good endeavor for you to take on to help others kind of
Well,
be more.
that's why we're here.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I really see, like, sincerely, I really see that your mission is to serve. I mean, there's been countless times that you've gone outside of your, I don't know, it's not obligations, but where you've just been just that light in the world that's just been either offering a helping hand to me or just some sort of connection. You just have that energy about you. So, Jim, I really appreciate you coming on the call today. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out?
I think the best way is just go to the ultimategameoflife.com, theultimategameoflife.com, or you can go to Jim Bunch, JIMBUNCH.com. But right now I'm investing most of my time with the Ultimate Game of Life because that's our desire to inspire people to play a bigger game and have them focused on their happiness, health, and wealth.
Yeah, no, and I think it's anyone listening to this would be amiss if they didn't at least check it out because I know I'm going to be listening to this call for all the gems you dropped, and I'm probably going to go check that site out too. And I'm going to give Lisa a call and ask her more because I just know she just raves and raves and raves about it. So whatever changes you're bringing, it already sounds awesome. So looking forward to it, man. Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the call today. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, just excited, and hopefully this was of value to people. I would encourage people to listen to this a couple of times and know that if you listen to it today, it will sound different if you listen to it in 30, 60, or 90 days because you're constantly changing. Your beliefs are changing. Every cell in your body is changing. And as a result, when you hear the same thing, a couple of months later, other things are going to resonate that you weren't ready to hear the first time.
Right.
So enjoy this. That's what I do. I don't listen to something once. I listen to it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times over and over and over again so that I really get the core of the message.
Yeah, and that's actually been a recurring theme with some of the interviews that I've done. Is people they reread the books, they reread all or re-listen to these types of lessons, because once you found people that a viable source or sorry a trustworthy source for what you're hoping to accomplish or learn or develop, most of us we only take in 10% or 30% of what we heard or were taught, and there's so much more value left on the table. So. And Jim, this has really been a content-packed call, and I really do appreciate you for being so open and forthcoming, just with your own personal story and with the wisdom that you have to share. So I very much appreciate it, and thank you for helping me live an inspired day today. And I got my push-ups done, so I can take that off my list.
All right, glad to hear it.
All right, thank you, Jim.
All right, bye for now.
Bye. You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.